last video I made, I wanted to add a couple things in because it occurred to me as I was out walking around that I'd left a couple of key concepts out of the whole deal. I didn't want to minimize, I don't want to minimize how damaging and harmful being misgendered is and can be, you know, being called gay when you're straight or whatever, you know, which is what the other guy has done to me from the get-go. And there's a lot of reasons for that I'll get into in other videos. It really doesn't matter. The point of fact is it's wrong and it's mean, you know. I could go off on that subject alone, but I wanted to get back to the thing about the racism. And in the first video that I put out, which is from May of 19, I pointed out that, you know, I have this ability to thought speak at people to varying degrees. Now, there's things like carrier waves, and under certain conditions it works better than in others. Having loud noise around helps a lot, for example. And then studies have been done on this stuff. Actually, you can look up, you know, papers on it. Psi is a real thing. You give a common background carrier to two different people in separate and otherwise unrelated areas, then they can share thoughts more easily, you know, demonstrably, like testably, and do. In any event, so I'm able to do that. For a long time, they allowed me to just, well, for a minute, they had allowed me to be myself, and I guess I'd become, you know, somewhat acceptable, which couldn't be allowed to stand. So when I got to Paris, chasing this one particular woman around, they took my person away from me, used basically very sophisticated machinery to pretend that I spoke these really, really horrible, racist, and wildly untrue things about me. And I just lost my camera here. That's where the beginning of all the racist stuff came from. I have never said the N-word against anyone, nor would I use any other racial epithet against anyone ever. I never have in this life, and I never will, because that's not who I am. But it is, of course, incredibly desocializing, along the same veins as the other guy's attempt to conversion therapy me into being the homoerotic fantasy he had of me, to the exclusion of my actual person, you know. And this was done on a massive scale over long periods of time. You know, all it did was make me miserable, which I actually think is the real purpose. Is they enjoy inflicting pain. Sadism is a large part of the point of all of this. And the racism thing was this exact same thing. It was like a way to take me out of myself, to have me hated by the people, or have people hate who they think I am. I mean, my actual person is nowhere remotely as offensive. But nonetheless, you know, at labeling theory, people think you're a monster, they treat you like a monster, and so I was thusly treated. And the truth of the matter is, you know, if somebody else had done such a massive program on someone to make believe that they were as hateful as they wanted to have me seen as, I would have bought the bullshit too, and I would have erroneously believed that, you know, that person was as evil as they would have me believe that they were, but it's not true. But what I wanted to get to, the point of why I'm adding this addendum is, when I got back, that was when I went around the world, and to Paris, Thailand, and so on and whatnot. Anyway, finally got back home, and when I get back home, they have this whole like, we love you, blah blah blah, but they refused to address the racism, because it clearly, demonstrably came from the other guy. It was an intentionally misrepresentation of my person in a way designed to have me hated, and as racists should be, rightly reviled, honestly. Of course, it would help if you reviled people who were actually racist rather than people who fought against racism, which is who I am. But in any event, the game plan as it came to me was that although they were going to allow him to take my person away from me and spew racist hatred on the world, very much his doing, and frankly, therefore, his responsibility. You want to see the racist talk to the guy who ran the program to put those obscene words in the world's mind, and it ain't me, you know. So there's that. The other thing is they said, oh, well, we all know Dave, so when he gets back, we go, oh, we know Dave, he's not, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, how is he supposed to get back when he's been totally and utterly desocialized? When everybody in society rejects a person, they're shunned, as I was. And, you know, if I had thought someone was as racist as they would have had the people believe that I was, which I'm not, you know, I would have reviled that person as well. And I you know, that's common sense. But the foolish thing is that they sold themselves this idea that they would allow this really, really monstrously hateful act to go on, and then they could undo it somehow by claiming that, oh, they actually knew me, so they, you know, trust them, they know me, I'm not that way, which was all predicated on my, you know, getting back or hooking up with this person or whatever or whatnot, of course, which never happened because I'm, of course, face blind as fuck, and there's all these weird rules involved, and, you know, if I'm allowed to meet a person or not, you know, hell, I can meet him, I can talk with them, and have quite a few several celebrities actually, but, you know, I don't know who they are. Nothing comes of it, and of course nothing did. So, you know, they sunk my boat a long time ago. Really, I'd say 35 years ago, or roughly thereabouts, when the idea came along that, you know, one or the other, it started on me as a very, very small child. It's something they do, is surveil really young kids and choose one of them for the little social control mechanism, and then divide it off because I was way too liberal, way too communist, literally. And so they needed a nice conservative, easily controlled guy, so they get this guy who, of course, hates my guts and has like literally like gone after any woman who's at all remotely interested in me to use them to get at me, you know, it's just, ugh. Anyway, they chose 35 years ago to reward that guy by paying him in literally the sexual violation of my childhood, my young childhood, little childhood. I'm not talking 15-year-olds here or anything like that. I'm talking little kiddom. So, you know, it's all pretty damn bent. But the point being that I really wanted to make this addendum for was that the collectivity allowed the misrepresentation of my person with the other guy's racist hatred based on the erroneous and frankly idiotic assumption that somehow shortly thereafter they would get me back, and then they'd say, oh, well, we know Dave, he's really not like that at all. Well, you know, who the fuck? You know, just, you know, as I said at the time, you know, just kill me now, you know, just get a sniper, just take me out, it'd be a whole lot kinder. I forget about things like the lottery in Babylon, which is, you know, predicated on, you know, one person's winning really isn't winning unless they're causing the other person to suffer a lot. And so I'm the person who's doing the suffering, so the other guy's doing the winning. But they did plan to eventually tell the people the truth. But that all, of course, you know, didn't happen because nobody bothered to think it through or lost the ability to think rationally or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, thus ends this little addendum to 02132020. So I guess this is part 2. So all right, adios, peace.